And welcome to the Getting to Know Your Contract series. So here we're going to talk about things that cause the extension of closing dates. And under the FAR promulgated as is contract that was created in 2021, which is the latest one that we've got, the one that we're going over today, there are two bases under which the contract could get extended. Of course, you can put additional reasons under the additional term section of your contract, but let's talk about the ones that are built in, right? So number one, it's built in when there's a financing contingency, meaning when there's a loan involved. And the parties have actually selected 8B financing, which we'll talk about later in another video. In that case, if there's a closing disclosure requirement, right? So this is like the actual closing disclosure that's provided to the buyer so that they know what the interest rate is going to be, what their payments are going to be, like all of those factors in there. If there is a delay caused by the requirements of that closing disclosure, because that closing disclosure has to be given at least 3 days before the closing for the parties. It just has to be. That's the federal law, right? And so if the closing disclosure is issued on the day that the closing contract or the contract says the closing is supposed to happen, there's a built-in extension for up to 7 days. However, it's not just a random built-in extension. There has to be loan approval. There has to be a completed lender underwriting. Okay, it has to have been done. Those things are essential. So financing contingency must be selected. The underwriting needs to be done, and loan approval has already been obtained. This is just about the disclosure called the closing disclosure being timely given, and it extends up to 7 days. The second reason for why there can be an extension in the contract that's built in is force majeure. What does this mean? It's like acts of God. It's nature getting involved. It's hurricanes delaying closings and therefore delaying the ability to secured hazard insurance policy. It's could be other reasons, for example, forced closures due to pandemics, right? We experienced that as a result of COVID, and that actually delayed a lot of things because businesses were forced to close. So those are force majeure, kind of like, nature got involved and we've got to extend the closing. It builds it in for a reasonable time. They define it a little bit further in what's called Standard G. Standard G just says, like hurricanes and floods and extreme weather and earthquakes and acts of God and unusual transportation delays, war, insurrection, pandemics was added, right? So those are the types of things that are covered by force majeure.